already. Yeah, great, brilliant. Then we won't keep it too long. Well, Thomas might. Nice man. But first of all, we just want to welcome everyone. It's great to have everyone here in Liam and Mary's house, and for the Lawler family, and the Davis family, and then the extended family, Goodwins, and the Fearys. Delighted to be all here, and my mother-in-law Mary is there as well, and Peter and Vera Doyle, lifelong, I suppose, at this stage, friends and mummies and daddies, who they're delighted to have them here as well. And also maybe we just pause for a moment, and I know we obviously weren't around 50 years ago, but those people who were very important on the big day who are no longer with us, and that's Johnny, Jimmy and Kitty, Mary Boland and Eugene, John King, who played a very significant role on the day, which you'll see soon, and Mommy's brother-in-law and Daddy's very close friend Seamus, who's no longer with us either. So we'll be thinking about them today as well. Speech started now. We're reflecting back to how they met all those years ago, and probably things were a lot simpler in those days. I don't know if you agree or not, but very often people from close geographical areas met, and they met in kind of more conventional, simple ways. So they actually met at a dance, and seemingly Mommy, with her usual, I suppose, outrageous optimism, was heading off to one of her first dances, and she claimed anyway she was going to meet the man she married on that night. Correct? Yes. And a lady told me recently, Joan McMahon, told me that she was going down the street and she was announcing to all that she was going to meet the man she married. Now she also did mention, and I quote, the big cocky head on her. So she obviously, but she stuck to her guns anyway, and she did meet him. So it's my wonder, Liam. So sorry, no. If this doesn't work now, it's Liam's fault. If this Liam. Yeah, that's good. Okay.
Oh, very good.
Oh, I saw the glasses.
Right, so here we have the happy couple outside the church in Port Arlington. Some familiar faces in the background, and Mommy there is every bit delighted with herself, and Daddy there's taking a very confident pose there. Those who know him well, know him best, know what he's really thinking. That he's probably thinking, I hope this car starts. But obviously it did, so they got on their way anyway. Now, also wanted to mention throughout just a few words here about the terrific example they set us through the years as a married couple and as parents. And one of the examples said was, you know, the sound foundations and the sound basis of marrying someone from a similar background or from a similar area, let's say. So I, for example, was lucky enough to meet my beautiful wife Geraldine, who I was actually in school with. Her mother, Mary, was here, tells me that in first year, she came home after a couple of days in first year and she said, Mommy, there's a boy in my class and he knows everything. Now,
it wasn't you, was it?
You didn't actually know everything. Further then also married Eileen, who he was actually in school with as well, from Mount Mellick. And Noel is about, well, next year. Where's Noel gone?
I'm here.
Noel is going to get married to Siobhan, who's from not too far away. She's just across the border from Tullamore, so also from local connection. Liam, well, she's awfully, but that's okay. So, and Liam, while Liam did meet his wife in a probably more exotic location, where was he again, Liam? Dubai, in Dubai. She was also from farming stock, a farmer's daughter. And we're delighted to have here today as well Rebecca, who's here with Cormac. And Rebecca's, where's Rebecca? Rebecca's there. And Rebecca's father has a vineyard and an olive grove.
Similar.
Rebecca, when you come over here in Spain, when you come over here, you can be whatever you want because nobody will know. Also then they taught us the secret to a happy marriage, and in their case, and it's probably good advice for all, Mommy's kind of motto going through life was, let him pretend he's the boss, but you're the complete boss. That was how it worked, and it worked very, very well. And another thing then they also taught us growing up was to choose our friends carefully, because obviously the company you kept would have a positive or negative influence on your life, and it was very important to choose friends who were kind of sober and upstanding and so on. Slide 2 there, Lynn. There's mommy in the river there with Noel McMahon. And that would probably explain why Liam hangs out with Jim Lawler. Now, mommy also spent lots of her time when we were small warning us to be careful, and living out here in the wilds and surrounded by machinery and animals and so on. There were lots to be careful of, and so she was constantly worrying and fretting that we were all safe and so on. Now, of course, Daddy as well, long before it became fashionable, was absolutely fanatical about health and safety also. On the farm, and machinery being in good condition and not taking risks and all of that. And he used to often remind us that you know, machinery and all those things was like you know, having a loaded gun. The next slide there, Lee.
Oh yeah.
There he is with what once was a loaded gun. Not only did it blow up on him, but he's actually seems to be quite proud of it as well. He's also the possessor of several shotgun pellets in his arm, where he managed to go out with a shooting companion one day and managed to get himself shot. Now, when he went to hospital, obviously there was lots of lads going around in those days with shotgun pellets because they could say not to worry about it, sent him home, so he still has them. Now, just in case we're looking around there for a guilty hunting companion, it wasn't Peter Doyle. Because Peter would have missed. Sorry, Peter. We also, I don't know if you, well, lots of you do know this, that Mommy's side of the family tended to be follically challenged. There's a few of us around here with shiny heads, anything in particular, and fine. But it was not always thus. Next slide there. Because here we have now Cormac there in the middle is maybe a bit thin and top, but we've got there. And the others two of us are sporting sort of mop tops, I suppose you know. And back, our haircuts, believe it or not, were the envy of many, because lots of the more conventional conservative mothers back in those days were going for the crew cut, was very popular. However, we were sporting these, and there was a lad in school with me. Is June there?
Yes.
June. Brian Langford.
Yeah.
Yes. A fellow of infinite jest and excellent fancy. Brian Langford used to say to me, Jesus Davis, I wish I had your hair. He doesn't say it anymore. Now, also, I suppose, growing up, we were never too concerned about fashion. And it was probably just as well we weren't too concerned about fashion, because most of the clothes we had in summer were hand-me-downs. But we're still probably not overly concerned about fashion. So take a look at slide 5 there, please, Liam. So there we are, our Rifle Haggle collection there, and that's Liam on the right, Cormac there in the centre. He's lost a lot of weight. Anyway, it's me on the left there, and I'm wearing, apart from having the hair beautifully done, I'm also wearing a homemade First Communion suit, which Mommy made.
Out of old things.
Out of old things,
clothes.
yeah.
I mean,
Buttons, tablecloths. Now, you'll notice there as well that Daddy is sporting there a very impressive pair of sideburns. And of course, the sideburns were the height of fashion in the 70s. Now, unfortunately, they weren't the height of fashion in the 80s. They were still sporting them. When they made a bit of a comeback in the 90s, he got rid of them. So we all get the trend and go the opposite direction. There was also, I suppose, when we got a bit older, maybe into our teenage years, we kind of become a little bit more conscious of what clothes you had and so on. And I reckon the lads could probably all identify with this, that when Mommy came to pick you up from school or when you come home in the evening, the 10 most feared words in the English language were, "I got you a lovely new pair of trousers." That would never end. Now we also Paul was growing up have a healthy respect for alcohol, and none of us, hardly any of us anyway, drink to excess, and we put it down to the good example we were given growing up, because they didn't really have a social life as such, kind of calling to friends and so on, but they didn't have a social life. I suppose they went to dinner dance once a year, but on Stephen's night every year they did have Geraldine and Seamus and Peter and Vera came out on Stephen's night, and they would return to the front room, and as the night would go on we'd notice the voices got a bit more raised. You can imagine the voices even more raised, and also there'd be a lot of laughter and so on. So oh yes, and there was one occasion, if anyone can recall what this was, in the early 70s, where Mommy and Daddy threw a party at home, and they had they cleared out a lot of the furniture from the room, and Mommy was going around shaking talcum powder on the floor so people wouldn't slip from the dancing. And I have a vivid image in my mind of Peter there standing on a stool playing an accordion.
It wasn't you, wasn't it?
I wasn't there.
Looks like. Now you can draw your own conclusions. Now we're not being judgmental there, right?
No, that was in our house.
Yeah.
That was
Was it
in
you
your
guys?
house. Yeah, it was.
Worse again. Worse again. Now, another thing they taught us growing up is that material wealth wasn't important. With the possible exception of Liam here, that material wealth wasn't important, and it's something that wouldn't make you happy, and it was important to appreciate the simple things in life, and again that was just as well also. And a buzzword in the present day is austerity. Now, Thomas Davis did announce, and he's someone who's been around longer than most, that people nowadays have no idea what austerity actually is. And he's referring to life, I presume, in the 40s and 50s. And I suppose something similar anyway in the 70s and 80s growing up, that things were quite... Now we didn't realise, of course, we were living through austerity, but we actually were. And when I went to work in Spain years ago, and I was teaching in a school, and the school was run by the Opus Dei, who were a religious organisation. But they were very excited about my arrival, and they were very anxious to enlist me as a sort of a representative from Ireland, so I could maybe promote their cause in Ireland. And now they were really, as I discovered when I got there, they were really interested in people from professional backgrounds with a few bob who might have plenty of influence. And so they were kind of constantly asking me what my father did and so on. So fortunately I had a photo with me. So I showed them this.
Oh no!
And so anyway, their faces fell and they lost all interest. There was also speaking about austerity, or maybe the image we were projecting back in those days, there was an occasion probably back in the 80s where Daddy and I think Mommy was with them, and I think Fergal and Noel might have been on board as well, headed off up to Dundalk or somewhere to get a load of coal in a car and trailer, as you do. And on the way home anyway, they decided to stop in Dunboyne in County Meath for tea and sandwiches in a little pub. Now, the Furies, the Furies Furies lived in Dunboyne, are a branch of the Fury family. And now, we were always given the impression the Furies were kind of the posh end of the family, you know? Which I'm not so sure, but anyway. And it was known that they had a seat in Dunboyne. So in the pub anyway, Daddy saw two owl lads up at the end of the bar, and he was always drawn like a magnet to owl lads. So he's one himself now. So he headed up to chat to these two guys anyway, and of course we were very interested in knowing who he was and where he was from and where he was going and all the rest. And he told them anyway, and he said he said, actually, he said,